Good morning, everybody. Welcome to GM Tips. This is GM Rick talking with you again. Hope everybody's doing good this week so far and having a great week, either with work or whatever you may be doing this week. If you took a week off for the summer, enjoy the great weather. Geez, couldn't get any sunnier than it is right now in most locations. So, the topic I wanted to talk on a little bit is waterborne adventures. I know we don't go into those a lot. And so this can be, figure the settings are going to be somewhere between fantasy age to about the 1800s. So any of the games that cover these type of eras will be the best things. I'm going to leave sci-fi off of this for right now. So I'm sorry for those of you who are on the sci-fi side looking for waterborne adventures. I'm leaving you guys out on this one. Question a lot of people ask are, what can you do on a waterborne adventure? So if you don't have land in sight, or if you have very little land in sight, what kind of campaign and what can you create with it? One of the things a lot of people deal with it is basically they deal with piracy and high escapades on the waves, and that's always a good thing. But I think as you're designing your waterborne campaign, you have to think about, for the long run of however many months or years you're going to run it, what is the overall drive for the characters to want to be on water? And I think that in looking at that, you have to talk with them ahead of time and make sure as a GM you're really talking it over with your players, and the fact that you'd like to do a waterborne campaign with them, gauge their interest, and then really write down what are their reservations to a campaign like this. Do they not like the idea that they can't go visiting a lot of dungeons or go into a lot of towns, or they're limited in their location, or just the fact they're surrounded by water and it's a pretty scary experience when your character is always sitting on the water? So there's a lot of different ways you can handle this. Now, one of the things we're going to look at a little bit this morning is plots for a waterborne campaign. What are the things that will tie a plot together? And I think one of the big things is location. So is your waterborne location going to be based originally from an island where the characters go out from that island and do their adventuring? Is it going to be that they're part of a crew of a ship, maybe a merchant ship or a warship or a vigilante type of bounty hunter ship, or is it going to be a pirate ship type of location? Are they going to be based in an underwater civilization? That's always an interesting one. So they might be in some sort of a underwater civilization that's protected against the ravages of water, or they breathe water. So that can also be interesting too. What is the reason that they would want to go to the water? That's the next question. Is it to find new adventure? Is it to find treasure? Is it to pillage and plunder other ships? Is it to find lost empires? Is it to find something on a lost island that someone has forgotten, maybe some knowledge or unique type of draw for them? Is it to stop an arch-villain that is based on an island? So say like a dragon, an ancient dragon, like a smog type of dragon that's on an island, or it could be a chromatic dragon, it could be an umbral dragon, it could be a Ravager dragon, it could be, any type of those things, a Dracolich, if you're doing D&D. What is the draw of the plot for them being on the water? And there can be a lot of things that you can do with this. And so I think as you're looking at this, you have to really sit down and look and ask yourself, why do these players want to even get involved with water? And really write some ideas around it. And then some side adventures. For me, I ran a campaign out of Pathfinder called Skulls and Shackles. I loved it. It was one of my more fun campaigns. It was one of my first campaigns doing Pathfinder, actually. And it was a lot of fun because I had the players on a mission one direction, and they got sidetracked with a whole nother set of missions. So for me, I looked at those kind of things and said, what is it that really draws the players in. And you can do a preset like that, and you can even change it up. And I did that. I did a lot of changing up. In fact, what I did was I gained a lot of knowledge of that area that they were going to be in. So whether you're drawing a set of islands or putting something off a continent, whether you're using a campaign like Midgard, or you're using a campaign like Faerun, or you're using one like Greyhawk Adventures, or you have one from the Cypher system that you've made up yourself, or that you have one from Savage Worlds, maybe a Solomon Kane kind of hidden in the jungles of Africa kind of deal, and the islands off of there, or maybe the Caribbean, so a Pirates of the Caribbean type of thing, or even could be inner sea. There's a lot of neat things you can do, and it doesn't even have to be 100% water-based. You can start with another campaign, move your players to water, and then bring them back as kind of part of the side draw of the campaign. So just keep that in mind when you're writing this up. What is the motivation, and where is the location, and what is the system? Familiarize yourself with the area that you really want to take them into, and familiarize yourself with the different things that can occur on water. What are those type of things? Number one is weather. As you guys have seen in many of these movies with the old-time ships, waves and storms and tsunami type of weather is just death to a sailor. So you really have to look at, how do I generate the weather? Do I have weather tables? How does it affect them on the water? Are they on the water on a ship? Are they on the water on an island? Are they on the water on a coast? Are they using fishing boats? Are they using waterborne creatures for mounts? And how does the weather affect them? Are they flying? Some people use flying ships or flying airships. So what is weather going to do to affect those type of conditions? That's one of the things you got to familiarize yourself and keep in mind. The other thing is, what kind of creatures are they going to occur on the water? Are they going to find a sea dragon? Are they going to find a Scylla and a Charybdis? Are they going to find Shahagan? Are they going to find merfolk? What are they going to run into when they get out there? So planning encounter tables and really drawing up encounter tables, even if your books have them, my advice, and I've done this with a lot of my recent campaigns, take out a piece of paper, put the roll to determine the encounter itself, along with how many things are going to be on the encounter, and what is the difficulty level of the encounter, so you can do the experience or treasure. So those are all things that you want to kind of get laid out. I'm not going to say kind of, you want to get laid out before you do your campaign. That way you have all that ready for those random situations. You may even do a random table of what they find on the islands. Do they find a lost city? Do they find a lost fort? Do they find a cave? Do they find a crumbling city of a lost empire? Is there an airship that went down on the island? Is there a lost ship that went down near the island? Have those type of things laid out, so that way then you're not having to write up volumes and reams of what the encounter is. One of the things I've learned to do lately, and some people would shoot you for it because they want to see your written work, I do a map. So it could be a map of a ship, it could be a map of a ruin. I do encounter tables for the type of encounters, and it allows me to freeform a little bit of the story around it. Instead of writing volumes of, you find this in this room, the room looks like this. I've been doing this long enough that now I'm just saying, you know what, I'm going to throw these things out of my head because I can spin some fun tales and keep the details straight and even make some notes on my paper so that way I know what's in the room. But I'm not just like set to reading things to characters, because that's the thing. In the beginning you start writing things out so you know what to tell them, but after a while, if you're not careful, you end up reading things to them. So be really careful in that. You want to take it and orate it in a way that draws them in, and reading doesn't always do that. A little bit of reading, fine, but you want to describe it outside that. So the next part of it, what kind of water campaign do I want to design? I love the pirate type of campaigns. I love the buccaneer type of campaigns. I love the treasure hunter type of campaigns. But also being on a merchant ship protecting against piracy is another thing too. Maybe you're on a mission to deliver something very crucial to an empire in order to help them to stave off all these pirates. So that's something that you can look at too. Maybe you're on a quest to find lost pieces of a puzzle that will help to unravel some mysteries about an area, or help an archaeologist, or help a society like Pathfinder Society to come on some lost knowledge they wouldn't have otherwise come upon. These are all type of things that as you're laying this out, don't try to be the same story. You can do tons after tons of waterborne adventures for your players. Just try not to always go to the same story. Where do they meet? That's always a fun thing to take it. Everybody likes to put everybody meeting at the tavern. Boy, isn't that like a beaten? Forgive me for those of you that love taverns. That's a whipping to me. I hate taverns. I have come to hate inns and taverns probably more than anything else. Your players meet at an inn. Now, some of you who love this, please tune out and turn off because you're going to get a little mad with me. To me, that is the default fallback condition. Have your players meet in some unique ways. Have them meet on an island, maybe in an island city. Maybe there's a scuffle that comes together that draws the players onto one location. Maybe there's a society, a secret society like the Red Mantis Society or the Aspis Consortium or some other type of things. What were all the Faerun ones? Maybe it's a Banite cult. Maybe it's a cult of Pelor. Who knows what brings them in? But make it come together in such a way that it's new for your characters each time. Don't go to the same tired draw, especially on a Waterborne campaign. Don't do it. Just say no. Yes, use a tavern to build their story and get rumors out and their fame and their fortune, but don't make it the place they meet. Just don't. I'm challenging all of you as GMs to get away from that. For me, I love to get way away from it. The last time I had my players meet, they were meeting up because they got this thing telling them that this empire was looking to resurge its greatness. And in order to do that, they had to put aside some things that were weird that were going on in the area and determine what they were. So all the players kind of came together. In fact, they didn't even come together until about halfway into the first story. And I loved it. I was running them from two different sides, but it was fun because then when they did come together, they had something in common, yet their goals were not the same. So it gave them that uniqueness to their backstory that they didn't have to just march to the same tune because we met up and we decided to become an adventuring group. No, for me that gets tired. And so find some unique ways of drawing your characters together in that Waterborne campaign. And then make sure that you have a lot of scenery. I mean, use music. There's so much music you can get from Pirates of the Caribbean and other types of stories like, what is it, Master and Commander, which was the one that had the ship pursuing another ship. There were some other ones that are really good that have some great water music. Get the wharf music and the tavern music and the different things that really spice that area. Get some of the jungle sounds and some of the sounds of just water striking the boat. These are the kind of things that really set the oratory senses for the players into a water campaign. If you want, have them dress up a little bit for it. Some people love the idea of dressing up. I used to have a friend of mine who, hang on a second, sorry, we had a cat incident this morning with cats regurgitating hairballs. Always fun. So she was pointing out another spot I missed. But really set that, and I do that with all my campaigns. You know, for if it's a desert campaign, I get desert music. If it's a jungle campaign, jungle music. If it is kind of a gypsy campaign, gypsy music. You really want to set a tone for your players that they kind of just get into the sync of the music. really use visuals. So a model of a ship. I've seen a lot of people build them up, whether it's a paper ship model or whatever for your players. I love them. And I got a couple maps from Paizo that you can lay out that are actually a flat ship. Now, I would like to turn that into a 3D because I think it'd add a little bit of spice to it. But it gives your players an idea, especially when you come alongside another ship. In this case, they were boarding a merchant ship. It gives them an idea of the dangers, and you can put sharks around it and other things because, again, a situation like that, people going into the water, you're going to draw predators. So you really want to have that visual that the players know where they are, how they got to run to the ballista to defend themselves, or if they have powder cannons, the powder cannons to defend themselves. What do they have to do? It really gets them into a clockwork thinking to where they become better at it. I really use the skills when it comes to profession. So a profession on the ship, just because you're a sailor doesn't mean you know how to navigate the ship or guide the ship. That's a whole nother set of skill things. So really challenge your players to get skillful at what they do. If they are the master of munitions, then they're the master of munitions, or the mistress of munitions. That's what they are. The quartermaster, as they call them. Get used to the terminology. Use the terminology. Get them using the terminology. The coolest situation that I had was an encounter where the guys came up against a golem called a cannon golem. Oh, that was such a fun little piece of work for them to try to figure out. Here's a golem on an enemy ship with a cannon for an arm, and it's a black powder cannon. So they have to use their ship and their skills and their acrobatics to overcome the cannon golem. That was a really cool encounter, and honestly, it became the ending point of the adventure. It was towards the end. But have those really defining moments on the open sea where it really calls the players to develop their skills as a creature that is born on the water. And again, there are so many classes and cool things you can do with this, and it gives you much more of a skill-based campaign. Yes, there's combat, but let's be honest, if you don't have the skills to survive on a ship and you don't have sea legs to really do well, you're going to have a problem. Or even on an island, if you're not used to things that, like the diseases and other things that come along, and the jungle and the dangers of the jungle or the dangers of a volcano, it really sets a tone. So in this, simple things I'd tell you. Number one, where are they going to be at? Be familiar with it. Number two, why are they going there? What type of end game goal is there, and what are the steps along the way that draw them to the water? Don't use the same tired meeting place. Get them a place where it's different each time. Really sit down and develop great backstories. That goes without saying, and I know I didn't hit that a lot in here, but really have a great backstory and give them some skills that would draw them to the water and help them to really get used to it. Pick encounters and encounter tables and really set them up ahead of time, and make sure that you're using encounter tables and maps ahead of time to save yourself a lot of time to write up that campaign. Have a unique reason why they're doing what they're doing, and also really tailor the bad creatures to be a stumbling block for those players. Use music and visuals, and then really work with those visuals to enhance the situation. So whether it's a ship layout, whether it's an island layout, whether it's music, really utilize those to make the campaign fun. And really take some time. I mean, you can do a lot with underwater. Oh, and magic items. Really gear them at helping them to survive the water. And I wouldn't give it away right away. Like, for instance, a helmet of underwater breathing and swimming. Don't give that to them by the end of the first set of the thing campaign. Really challenge them to try to find something like that, because then when they do, it's going to be a valuable resource for them. I find too often GMs just want to hand out everything to help them on their campaign. don't do it. Make them grow a pair, forgive me, and really work to get to the goals and really survive. And whether it's water or other campaigns, do that. Don't just hand them the things they need to survive. These are dangerous locations. They need to learn to use their skills and their wits and their abilities to keep themselves alive. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. Uh, so these are some of the things that really you can look at with this, and weather. Really use weather to your advantage in making this campaign a lot of fun. I love waterborne things. There's a lot of great modules out there. Like I say, there's Skulls and Shackles. There's a Serpent Skull in Pathfinder. I believe that some of the Faerun books had some things on Cauldron and the Age of Worms adventures. There was two Age of Worms set of adventures. One was the Cauldron or the Shackled City. The other one was the Age of Worms. Really good on putting you into a waterborne location on both of those. There's other adventures like that. Born of the Sea. There's some really good ones out there. Really try to locate and find those resources to get them several adventures that they can use. So I hope this helps this morning with things. Again, stimulating creative thinking. I love water and I love ships, and I can't wait to get the party back to that because it's a lot of fun. But I also can't wait to get them to the desert, to the jungle, to some islands, to the mountains of Erisha. I really want my players to have something that they talk about for months every time I do a campaign. That shows that I'm really doing my work as a GM to make it special for them. Really work on that and make sure you do that. And those of you players who watch that are friends of mine, reach out and start being GMs too. Because you know what? Nothing enhances your playing like GMing. I'm just saying. Or DMing if you're in Dungeons and Dragons. Take the time to do it. It will really awaken the challenges to you that your current DM or GM has. It gives them a break, and it really lets you become them for a while. And then the next time you play, you really appreciate them a ton. I hope you have a great morning. I hope everything goes well. Again, Sirenscape, Lone Wolf Games or Wolf Lair with uh, God, Hero Lab. I'm blanking on that horribly. Make sure you have these type of materials. Great for you. Roll20, one of the things. Noof Gaming has some other suggestions that he's given me for other type of programs that you can use for that type. So there's a lot of online things. Roll20 is one of many. Make sure you pick the one that's right for you, and really make sure that you prep people ahead of time and get everything ready to make a fun and exciting Waterborne campaign. Have a great week.